who is striving for excellence in office practice. He's won the national level practicing pediatrician quiz in 2002 at Pedicon, Bangalore. His areas of special interest include infections, hematology, and computers. His future vision is to include research in office practice to benefit the children of India. He's been advocating rational antibiotic therapy in the state for the past 10 years, which is the need of the hour. I request you, sir, to deliver your talk on otoscopy in office practice.
Is my screen visible, madam? Is my screen visible, Dakshayani?
Yes, sir, visible, sir. Sir, you'll have to...
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Am I audible?
Audible and visible, sir.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
Very good afternoon, my dear colleagues, my dear teachers, and my dear friends. First of all, I thank the office bearers of IJPP for giving me this opportunity, particularly Thangavellu sir, for giving me the opportunity of a very important practical aspect of day-to-day procedure in office practice, that is otoscopy in office practice. The outline of talk will be when to do otoscopy, with what to do otoscopy, how to do, and how to interpret and carry on messages. So when to do, what are the common indications when it comes to otoscopy? No day is passed in a pediatrician office without incessant cry. Whenever a baby with incessant cry, we put the stress on the abdomen and see the gurgling bowel sounds and think it is a colic, and the next day the baby will be coming with a pus pouring out of the ear. So a baby with incessant cry and colic is a diagnosis of explosion. It is not, examination is not complete without examining the ears. So it is definitely a very important indication. Number two, a fever without focus. Whenever the baby is coming with fever without focus, when you are not able to identify on day 3 or day 4, sometimes the focus may be sitting in the ear. And number 3, any days in a toddler going to the daycare center or a preschool, if they come with a repeated respiratory infection and a muffled speech, and the teacher saying the child, they are not able to understand the language the child is speaking, we should always look for the otitis media with effusion, that is blue ear, with impairment of the auditory in that tympanogram. These are the 3 definitive indications to do otoscopy in day-to-day practice. So what are the barriers to otoscope? What prevents a pediatrician from doing otoscope? First of all, no otoscope in 50% of the individuals. Number 2, if they have the otoscope, it is a defective otoscope. Number 3, when you are starting doing otoscope, wax is preventing them seeing the tympanic membrane. And even if the wax is not there, the child is irritable and uncooperative, not allowing to examine. And number 5, there are certain myths. It is only for ENT surgeons. It is consuming, and the child will be very uncooperative, and incessant cry in a URI child is AOM unless proved otherwise. So these are the common barriers to otoscopy in day-to-day practice. So with what we have to do, what is the ideal otoscope? The ideal otoscope will be a macroview otoscope by Welch Align. This is the otoscope which I am having for the more than 15 years. This is the otoscopic head with a macro view, and you can it actually amplifies the view around 3 times. You can very comfortably see the tympanic membrane. And this is the handle, which we can have a lithium handle as well as the nickel cadmium handle. This is the insufflator bulb for the pneumotech otoscopy. This is the ideal otoscope to be have. The only thing is the cost. It comes around 30,000. What is the alternative otoscopes? This is the very good alternative otoscope, which is not a magnifying otoscope. It is around 3.7 volt LED otoscope. LED otoscopes are better than halogen otoscope. It costs roughly around 12,000 only. It is easily available among the thing listed. And when you are not able to go for the other thing, little higher, and you can go for at least the basic otoscope, which is a 2.5 volt LED otoscope that comes around roughly around 8,000 only. So best is always go for the macroview, otherwise go for the 3.5 LED otoscope. Coming to the technique of examination. So before for going for the technique of examination, always the toddler, usually it is ideal to place the child in the lap of the mother and ask the mother to hold and examine the ears. That is very easy. Or sometimes we can place the infant in there, for example, or the right ear in the right shoulder, left ear in the left shoulder. That is very easy to examine, particularly with respect to infants. This is the way which we examine very easily. Always see to that in the external ear canal there is a cartilaginous part and the bony part inside, and see to that your specula is not going to touch the bony part, which is the painful part. So always try to go to the specula, can go up to the cartilaginous part. So this will prevent the pain during the examination. So this is the, first of all, we should know the landmarks of a normal tympanic membrane. So this is the normal tympanic membrane, the right side, the left side. You can see the antero-inferior portion, there is the cone of light, and it ends with the umbo, handle of malleus, lateral process. This is a pars tensa and pars flaccida. This is the normal tympanic membrane. So how do you normally go about is, first of all, after pointing out the cone of light, first we have to point the cone of light. The apex of the cone of light will go to the umbo. From the umbo, you catch the lateral handle of the malleus. From there, the lateral process. From there, you can see the incus in the posterior quadrant. So this is the pars tensa, this is the pars flaccida. So these are the normal landmarks, anatomical landmarks you should be familiar with before doing otoscopy. Again, I am stressing upon here, this is the real-time view when you are seeing with otoscope. Here, you can see a pearly white tympanic membrane. This is the color. This is the shape, normal shape. It is not retracted or not bulging, and it is a glistening, and you can see the anatomical, particularly bony landmarks inside. As I already told, first find out the cone of light. From there, from the apex of the cone of light, see the umbo. From there, see the handle of the malleus. From there, you see the lateral process. So from there, you can see from the clockwise direction, the pars tensa and the pars flaccida. This is the way we should. This is the normal real time field view of the tympanic membrane. Not only when we see the characters of the membrane, next thing we should always see further with the pneumatical, the mobility of the membrane. You can see the mobility is best seen only in the posterior quadrant. You can see the mobility, very fantastic mobility when you are using the pneumatic otoscope. So these are the characters for a normal tympanic membrane. So in short, what are the things you have to look for? Coming to the thing, we should look in the external ear canal, whether the skin is normal or inflamed, whether there is otitis externa, whether there is any furuncle, whether there is any wax, whether there is any foreign body. This is the external ear canal. Coming to the middle, that is the tympanic membrane, as I've already told, starting with the cone of light, going for the umbo, going for the mantle of Halius, pars tensa and pars flaccida. These are the things we should look for in anything. Now let us see some pictures of the abnormal things. So far I have dealt with the normal interpretation. This everyone can immediately find out. This is a case of wax in the external ear. Next, sometimes we come across an incessant child. When you examine the ear, there will be an ant will be playing inside or an insect will be playing inside. This is a common scenario in incessant child coming from the rural setup. That is insect inside the external ear, sometimes foreign body inside the external ear. So these are also very common. Going to the third thing, very, very important thing is the furuncle in the external ear, as well as the otitis externa, the inflamed external otitis membrane with when you press the tragus, there will be painful. Whenever there is a pain, the child comes with the incessant cry and you are pressing the tragus, it is painful. It indicates mostly you are dealing with the furuncle or acute otitis externa. So these are the things which come with respect to the external ear. Coming to the internal ear, that is the middle ear. So first and foremost, the important thing is we have to see whether whether we are dealing with acute otitis media or not. Any crying child, the membrane will be red, but there won't be enough bulging, and only the handle of malleus will be red. The remaining thing won't be bulging. So always compare with the normal side. So this is the normal tympanic membrane. This is the abnormal tympanic membrane of a crying child. This is a normal tympanic membrane. There is a bulging drum, red and bulging drum. This is the early stages of otitis media. It will be red and bulging. Okay, next. So this is the thing. This is the real-time view of a bulging eardrum with a purulent bulging eardrum. So this is again very nicely, you can see the donut appearance. Here the landmarks are obscured. Around the umbo, there is a swelling of the bulging of the tympanic membrane. There is also purulent collection inside. This is the clear-cut specific sign of acute suppurative otitis media. Along with the lack of mobility, it is 100% sure that you are dealing with a case of acute suppurative otitis media. This is a fantastic, when you see, it will be very, 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 very happy when you see such a bulging drum when you are examining and things. So this is another view of the acute otitis media. You can see this is a normal drum for comparison. There is a bullous lesions in the tympanic membrane. This is also known as bullous meningitis, and which is mainly common, we know, as a viral as well as mycoplasma. But we should know that pneumococcal is the commonest cause of bullous meningitis. So commonest cause of bullous meningitis is pneumococcal acute otitis media. Next. So you can see ASOM with pus pouring out. This should not be the thing which when we examine, we should try to, before that stage, we should try to catch it out. And sometimes after treating, you can see the tympanic membrane perforation in the eardrum, that is in the pars tensa, that is central perforation. Usually it will heal over a period of 2 to 3 months. See to that the child should keep the ear dry. Whenever the child is given head bath, they should keep the ear dry. This should be our comment thing. So next, going from the otitis media to the next group of important condition. This is a condition is known as there is a fluid level in the middle ear, that is known as the acute otitis media with effusion. Acute otitis media with effusion is a very, very important finding which should be followed over a period of time. As when you follow up, naturally the fluid should settle over a period of time. But when it is, instead of settling it, when the membrane, the fluid becomes very much more mucopurulent and, for example, becoming like viscous, or it is like becoming like a wax-like thing, it is known as glue ear. And this is one of the important cause of particularly hardness of hearing and muffled speech in a toddler within a daycare, going for a daycare center. So this glue ear we should be able to identify whenever you are examining in a child with a hard of hearing and a speech delay, and it should be confirmed with the tympanogram. What is the management? The management, we all know, we have to go for the grommet. So this we have to refer to the ENT surgeon, and finally we can insert the grommet, and finally everything will be completely settled. So far I have dealt about the external ear, then comes the middle ear, mainly acute suppurative otitis media, then followed by acute otitis media with effusion. This is the last slide. Sometimes you may have a surprises of a scanty ear discharge with such a thing, which is known as the cholesteatoma with a retraction pocket, with the epithelium, very nasty thing of looking thing. So we should be very careful in identifying. It can be known as congenital cholesteatoma. So these are the common things one should be aware. How to, particularly when to do, how to interpret the normal tympanic membrane, how to interpret the abnormal tympanic membrane whenever you come across the thing. What is the carry-on message? A good otoscope is a great value addition to your office. Utility value of otoscopy examination is phenomenal in day-to-day practice. This is my personal experience and universal experience. Always try to have an otoscope, a good otoscope. It's not very costly, just 12,000 only. Try to hear. My acknowledgements to Dr. Jagdish Chinappa from Bangalore and Dr. Vijay Krishnan from Madras ENT Research Foundation, who have shared the important slides with me. Thank you, one and all. Thank